Drawn thread work is a form of counted thread embroidery based on removing threads from the warp or the weft of a piece of even weave fabric. The remaining threads are grouped or bundled together into a variety of patterns. The more elaborate styles of drawn thread work use a variety of other stitches and techniques, but the drawn thread parts are the most distinctive element. It is also grouped as whitework embroidery because it was traditionally done in white thread on white fabric and is often combined with other whitework techniques. Styles. Basic hem stitching. The most basic kind of drawn thread work is hem stitching. Drawn thread work is often used to decorate the trimmings of clothes or household linens. The border between hem stitching, gone fancy, and more elaborate styles of drawn thread work isn't always clear. Needle weaving. This relatively easy type of drawn thread work is created by weaving the embroidering thread into the bare-laid warp or weft threads to create patterns of light-colored threads and dark openings in the drawn thread cloth. Needle weaving is most often used for decorative borders. It is nearly always used in combination with other types of embroidery stitch. Together they create a complete design and, historically, in ethnic embroidery, distinctive embroidery styles, also known as needle darning. Poltava-style drawn work in Ukrainian and some other Slavic languages. Marishka is the general term for drawn thread work. Marishka, pronounced, includes all types of drawn thread work, including those mentioned in the paragraphs above. In recent years, -2005, the term Marishka, a variant of Marishka, began to be used in some circles for a specific Ukrainian drawn thread technique that is traditionally used in the central lands of Ukraine, especially in the regions of Poltava and Kyiv, and areas along the Dnipro River, and some have come to call it Poltava-style Marishka. The technique has its own descriptive name in the Ukrainian language, which might be translated into English as layerings. The technique for doing Poltava-style layerings Marishka basically involves withdrawing sets of parallel threads of weft while leaving others in place, then using the antique hem stitch and this special layerings technique to create both the open work net and the design of embroidering threads upon the withdrawn part of cloth. The designs which can be created in this way can be simple and narrow, or as complex and wide as any one-colored embroidery design. Prutik is the bunch that is created when you pull together each bunch of 3 threads together using hem stitch. In Ukrainian, prutik is simply another name for simple hem stitch, or it can mean each tiny bunch in the hem stitching. Other drawn thread, a form of double drawn work where both warp and weft are removed at regular intervals, consists of wrapping the remaining threads into bundles, using embroidery thread to secure them, thus creating something similar to a net. Then embroidery threads are woven in patterns into the net using needle weaving and needle darning. The result is a pattern of the design in white embroidery on the open work background of netted cloth. Cut work. Hardanger embroidery is a style of drawn thread work that is most popular today. It originally comes from Norway, from the traditional district of Hardanger. The backbone of Hardanger designs consists of satin stitches. In geometrical areas, both warp and weft threads are removed and the remaining mesh is secured with simple weaving or warping, or with a limited number of simple filling patterns. The designs tend to be geometric. If they include flowers as such, they are very stylized due to the nature of the technique. Hardanger never includes buttonhole stitches, except for securing the edges of a piece of fabric. It is usually executed using rather coarse fabric and thread. Ukrainian cut work. Much like Hardanger, Ukrainian cut work belongs to the category of cut and drawn work, since, unlike Marishka, threads of the ground cloth are cut both vertically and horizontally and thus create specifically larger cut work openings in the body of the fabric, when compared with drawn work. The Ukrainian word for cutwork embroidery is vyrysovania. There are several styles of Ukrainian cutwork, one of which closely resembles hardanger cutwork, needle lace and drawn thread work. Reticella lace is a form of embroidery in which typical techniques of needle lace are used to embellish drawn thread work. It was first used in 16th century Italy. Needle lace evolved from this when the lace makers realized that they can do the same things without any supporting fabric. High-quality reticella is done with thread almost as thin as sewing silk. Ruskin lace is in fact a near-modern form of it. Warp and weft threads are removed, and the remaining threads are overcast with buttonhole stitches, as in needle lace. Another embroidery style that combines drawn thread work with needle lace techniques is hedebow from Denmark, which originates from the area around Copenhagen and Roskilde. It uses techniques that are clearly distinct from reticella and traditional Italian needle lace on the one hand and hardanger on the other. It does make extensive use of buttonhole stitches, but they are done slightly differently than in Italian embroidery.